And hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Collegiate GameDay. This is our third episode out of what will be four this season. Maybe more, I don't know. We might do one for the playoffs, we'll see. My name is Daniel Topos. I'm usually the observer / streamer for CSL. Along with me today are my lovely co-hosters. Chris Messer, who we missed last week.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And Daniel Pauly, who we had this week. So
been here the whole time, man. Just been here, just waiting.
He's been here the whole time. It's good times. All right, let's get some quick plug stuff out of the way. As always, we are sponsored by MSI, NCIX, and Raid Call. Raid Call. Go to group 1111. It's a real treat. We talk to you in there. We answer questions. We have Q&As with the coordinators after games. It's a jolly good time. And we still got our April to Remember MSI contest going on. There's not a whole lot of entries. Now, what you need to do is you need to create a video, 30 seconds, minute, which tells us why you need a new laptop. Now that can be like showing off your old crappy laptop, or it can be some special case that you've got going on. But you see that laptop on the screen right there in that little splash. It looks awesome. I've seen a real picture of it. It looks fantastic. You should want that laptop. I'm not a laptop person, and I want that laptop. Also, please tune in on Saturdays and Sundays if you are a LoL fan. We've got great games going on, and they can definitely use your support. All right, so how you guys doing today?
Good, man.
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to talk about this last qualifier, which is also pretty crazy, even compared to qualifier 2, I feel like.
I totally agree. So let's jump into this and check out what happened in this last qualifier. Here, let me actually scoot this over just a tiny bit. All right, here we go. So, no, I don't think there were any huge surprises in the first few rounds. I think most of everyone who we thought were going to go on, were going to go on. We had our several, old returning schools like UMCP down over in the bracket over here, who of course have made it far in each round. We had Washington, of course, coming through again. But we also had the few new schools that made it kind of far, and UC Irvine, who before now hasn't even participated in any of the qualifiers, and University of Chicago as well, who made it quite far along.
Didn't Irvine play in the second one? They were registered for the first, but they forfeited.
I feel like they forfeited in the second one as well, but I may be wrong in that.
I feel like they played, but they got knocked out like round of 16 or 32. I don't know what's. It's ringing a bell.
Okay,
like
maybe.
I feel
I
they played.
know that they didn't make it very far at all. So for them to have progressed as far as it did is definitely.
Well, I don't think any of us picked, like last week. None of us picked it, so picked them to get far. For me personally, I mean, looking at it. Irvine, Maryland, of course, biggest story is moving on through. College Park, congratulations to them, trying for their third time's lucky charm. Making it on through. Irvine, even more in a dominating fashion, 3-0, 3-0, 3-1, 3-0, and 3-1 as well. Unfortunate stories, of course, go to RIP, getting one game away from qualifying, but again, nobody really expected the RIP to actually get that far. That was pretty big, as well as Washington once again getting caught in the semifinals, getting knocked out. That's pretty sad. I don't know. That's
yeah. The only reason I was smiling was because you were saying RIP. And RPI.
RPI. Did I say RIP?
I mean RPI in this qualifier, RIP. You know what I mean? That's how I feel.
Yeah, basically.
They're such a hard fighting team, and for them to go down 3-1 to UMCP was definitely a little bit of a surprise. I know UMCP is a strong team, but RPI has a very strong lineup, and they definitely didn't want to go out like that in the third qualifier. One other note is, we're talking about how University of Washington is, sort of one of those teams that were shocked is not, getting all the way through these qualifiers. But they even had a 3-2 versus University of Chicago in the quarterfinals, which is sort of surprising that, a team with such a robust lineup, you would think they would breeze through and then sort of hit a snag. But, it turns out they have close calls even before UC Irvine was able to knock them out in this one. So,
Well,
I don't know.
something that you do have to realize that in the case of Washington, I believe in both the round, or no, I know that in the round of 8 against Chicago, their 2v2 team was once again a 1v2. So one of the losses to Chicago was basically just, more or less automatic because it's hard to play a 2v1. 2v2 is a 2v1. Which in itself is quite a storyline because that's, I think, the third time that they've had that happen. So I don't know what exactly is going on with their 2v2 team, but I've only seen their 2v2 team play a 2v2 once, I believe. So I don't know exactly what's going on with that.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that, so that does make a little bit more sense. But yeah, overall, this qualifier definitely interesting 2 teams to make it through, I would say.
It's funny because last week when we were picking, we picked Washington to go through again, and then I think we both were like, oh God, I don't know who are we gonna pick for the second spot. Yeah, you know what? Screw it, we'll go with UMCP. So it's kind of like our secondary kind of throwaway. Who knows if this will actually happen? Was the one that was right, whereas the one that we thought we're going to get right in Washington, we once again had thrown out the window.
Yeah.
A few other things that I've, we talked about a few other teams before. We talked about Purdue, who unfortunately got knocked out of the first round by, I believe, Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah, that's kind of new.
And they actually beat Miami afterwards as well. So, Fullerton got a little bit further. Of course, then they lost to Washington. And once again, our beloved Rutgers team, I believe they got knocked out in the first round as well by
we keep rooting for them. Keep rooting for them. They just won't make it through, man. Just won't make it through. For myself personally, I had 3 other side notes. LSU over Carleton. Carleton's one of those teams that has capability of getting deep, and that was a close series at 3-2. So that could have been a potential threat that was taken out towards the later stages of the bracket. San Diego over Utah. Utah, one of the teams that we know is usually pretty good and consistent. San Diego knocking them out. They took out UT Dallas. They took out even Florida, man, who came out really strong in the last qualifiers. So, unfortunately, again, losing to the qualifying winners, UC Irvine, in the round of 16, round of 8. So, not too bad of a deal. Probably San Diego being one of the newest faces, I would say, that got as far as they did. Other than that, we had a fairly regular bracket. We had Chicago, Washington, Irvine, San Diego, Ohio State, College Park, Guelph, and RPI in the round of 8. So not a lot of shockers there.
Well, it should be worth noting that North Texas actually got knocked out in the first round as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They did, didn't they?
By Miami in a 3-0 at that. So that was, I think that was a little bit of a
3-0 especially.
A little bit of an upset, yeah. And, of course, we had Guelph doing very well. Guelph? Is it Guelph?
Guelph. It's Guelph.
I'm gonna go with Guelph.
It's Guelph. Trust me, we had two weeks last season where we were trying to figure that out, and finally somebody came out from the school and actually told us how to pronounce it.
So Guelph, them making it as far as they did was very good to see. They of course did fairly well last season, so it was good to see them progress as far as they did. Ohio State once again was someone to be reckoned with, eventually losing to UMCP. And personally, I think Chicago is probably the biggest surprise here because they didn't play in the first 2 qualifiers at all.
They played in the second one.
Really? Did they?
I'm pretty sure they did.
I could have sworn we went through the teams that were going to be playing in this one. Chicago we singled out as one that hadn't played yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll need to double check that. But at least I remember from the predictions that we did. I mean, I had Chicago getting fairly far. I mean, I was surprised they actually didn't get to the round of four. They're a really good school from last season and the year before that. So, even if they haven't played in any of the qualifiers, I had them picked up there. I didn't see them going all the way, but one of the deeper schools. So, I swear they played in the second one though, man. I swear they played in the
You
second
know,
one.
it could be just me, but I thought we went through those teams.
I mean, it could
last
it
week.
could be it could be just me too. I'm like losing my mind. I'm trying to recall all the schools that have played in each qualifier, who was in it, who wasn't. Like by the time we get to like the playoff version, we're gonna be like, well, okay, we don't even know who played when anymore.
What qualifier did they make it through again? Oh my God, they played it everyone.
I know we're just gonna remember Maryland College Park, even though they won this one, they're still gonna sign up for the next one anyway. It's just
Yeah. Well, do you guys have any other notes about
I
this last
mean,
qualifier?
nothing really. This was simple playing and cut. I mean, most of the teams that were supposed to be where they were, they got there. Only a couple small little upsets in the early rounds, but the bracket for the most part got to where it should have been. The only thing, again, I think all of us are still surprised that somehow by the third qualifier, Washington is yet to qualify. I think that's probably the biggest shocker.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Washington not qualifying, still a big shocker. Some of my other East Coast buddies in Mass, Harvard, and MIT, they're not teams that would maybe necessarily make it all the way to the finals. But I mean, Harvard, did place pretty well a couple tournaments ago, and they are a solid team. So some of my East Coast friends struggling to even get past the first initial round. So I know that at least Harvard is in the next qualifiers. So they may, end up knocking out a pretty big team, causing an upset.
Let's see. I think let's see here where MIT. I think they made it out of the. Did they make it out of the first round? Let's see here. Oh, NYU actually lost in the first round as well. They were a previously fairly far team. They lost to Waterloo. Wow,
Well,
that's it. Or NYU getting beat by Waterloo and Texas A&M beating Waterloo and then Texas A&M losing to Ohio State. That's a pretty that to be a pretty sick set of games right there. Those are all very good teams. Yeah, MIT got beaten out by Guelph in the second round, and
Yeah,
Harvard actually made it into the third round where they got
knocked
beat
out by RPI.
RPI.
Yeah,
I mean, my point is none of those are losses that are to be taken lightly. I mean, RPI
right.
very strong team. Guelph very strong team. And even as I was saying, NYU losing to Waterloo being a very strong team, and then losing to another very strong team in Texas A&M. So even it's interesting to see that even in the early rounds of these qualifiers, we're running into situations where you have teams that could possibly go further running into each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Congratulations, of course, to UMCP. As much as they troll our chat, I'm the one banning you guys, so come at me, bros.
get at him, bro.
Of course, to UC Irvine, who, what's it, Zot bitches, right? That's their
Yeah.
thing. Congratulations to them to making it all the way through. Certainly didn't see that happening, but hey, taking down Washington, even though I think Washington's kind of got some weird stuff going on. I don't know about what races Kawhi Rice is trying to play. Caliber playing more random. Their 2v2 team not doing that well in the terms of them not having a 2v2 team sometimes. I mean, I know that in the round of 4 they had one, and I believe they actually lost that game, but it was kind
Let me
of
double
a
check.
team. Yeah, I think the
Yeah, they did. It was Monkey Saga and Caspada of UC Irvine that was able to pull that game out.
Yep.
And it was like a straight up 2v2 also. It wasn't like they
It was really-
cheesed.
Actually, that round of 4 had 2 very solid 2v2
Yeah.
games.
No,
Both of
those
them
were
were non-cheese, or let's rephrase. One of them tried to cheese very hardcore,
Yeah.
but then it turned into a lengthy game. So it was very good to see that the 2v2 seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah. And we'll look at that game a little bit later too.
Absolutely. So, speaking of games that we're going to be looking at later, unless any of you have anything else you'd want to say about this particular qualifier,
No, I mean,
I
like I
think
said,
we've covered most
yeah.
bases.
Thumbs up. It was a really good qualifier, especially the round of 4.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was a pleasure to watch. All right, so let's move on and let's bring up our games of the bye week qualifier, whatever. It's the games that we think that were kind of cool, had a little bit of flair to them, or just something that we thought we would share with you guys. And so, Chris, let's start with you. Let me bring that match up real quick. And so we're talking about the 2v2.
Yep.
And so this was the one which started off with, I believe, just a straight up cannon rush.
Yep. So Joe Obama, he did a cannon rush in the round of 8 that we casted last week, and then he ends up doing it again in this 2v2. And his teammate just kind of supports with some links, I believe. So I'm kind of recalling this game from memory right now because I don't actually have it pulled up with you, but the cannon rush and the ling pressure essentially puts them behind. They're not crazy behind, but Joe Obama's Zerg buddy decides to go for Mutalisk, and he has like 5 drones at his mineral line. He has very, very low economy. He has like 11 drones when he throws down the Spire. But Joe Obama funnels all of his minerals and all of his resources to his Zerg buddy, and he's able to get enough Mutalisks out on the field to delay. And then Joe Obama goes straight for double Colossus. And the story of this game really is, army efficiency. They were behind an army for so long, but they had the right units to deal with the mass bio and the mass Hydralisk. And for so long, it seemed like an unwinnable game, but they just kind of stuck it out after they lost to that cheese, or after they went behind from that cheese. And I honestly, it was the best comeback I've seen in a 2v2 in all of the CSL games that I've ever casted. So I thought it was worth pointing out because it was ridiculous, man. I mean, I was shocked. I was literally shocked at them being able to come back from what seemed like about a 70 to 80 supply deficit.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's if a cannon rush fails for you in a 1v1, 2v2, even further along, the chances of your team winning, I mean, drops through the floor. And Joe Obama actually did this in the round of 8 as well, where he cannon rushed his opponent, and I believe that one worked.
Yep.
And so it was it was really strange to see this one. I mean, it got shut down. It did a little bit of damage. It delayed a little bit of stuff. It caused some havoc, but it was. Then the game just kept on going and going, and I'm just sitting there going, why?
I mean, it was just, they weren't out of the game, but when you do a cannon rush and it fails, even in ones, you have this feeling of inevitability. Like, you're so far behind that your opponent is just ahead. So you can try to catch up, but it's only a matter of time before they show up to your front door. But the way they counteracted that was to invest all of it into Mutalisk and delay that push as long as humanly possible. That's exactly what they did. They got those Colossi out in time to deal with the pressure. It was just enough. And then finally their high-tech units ended up overpowering. And, a couple of good engagements, a couple of missteps, able to kind of cut off one half of the army and then take out the other half. But even still, though, it was just such a great show of patience and a great moment of like, all right, this is the only way we can possibly win. Just throw everything into Mutalisk, hope it pans out, delay them as much as possible, and then eventually they won, man.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that the Mutalisks, they were stopping I think it was a Roach Hellion, so it was like the perfect thing to bring out against the push that was coming, because if it was Marines, I'm not sure that would have survived if he went mass barracks instead of trying to push in with Hellions. I think that push succeeds and this game ends by like minute 10.
Yeah, I mean, it was a risk, but I just applaud the decision because it was really the only thing that could have possibly worked in that scenario. So
true. Did you see the game at all, DP that they're talking
Yeah,
about?
I caught a little bit of it. Again, it just kind of goes back to the initial part where the investment of the actual cannon rush. Typically, if you could hold it off, um, the team that's holding it off is usually the one that's more focused on the economic end. So if they're able to hold it off without losing too much of their economy, they're usually able to get a really nice lead. So that was kind of the case. I don't know. It was just interesting. The comeback was good though overall.
Yeah, and I really hope that we get to see more 2v2 games where it ends up being like what it's displaying on the screen right now, where you got these big armies that are engaging all over the place, and you got this totally awesome chess match going on. Because right now, I mean, 2v2s end up sometimes being really really cheesy and over, and 8 to 10 minute mark, and so it was actually really refreshing to see a game that is still going at the 26-minute mark.
Yeah, I mean that's fairly rare for a 2v2. We usually see the game end about 20 minutes no later, about 15 60 minutes just when all the teams get up to their near 200 armies or 400 I guess if you want to call it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, this was the only game that our PI managed to actually win. So it was too bad that it was, because it was a very exciting game. But they still have another chance to get in there. All right. Anything else you want to say about it, Chris? Or
No, I just thought it was. I mean, there's nothing too crazy analytical, obviously, but I just thought it was a really smart decision and a really fun game to watch. The best 2v2 I've watched in the past year of casting CSL.
I might have to agree with you with that one. Okay, let's get this next one ready. And DP, this was your game. This
Yep.
is
Hawaii Rice and Power. Game overall, we were location on Belshire Beach. Kawhi Rice was working with his off race, Zerg. Power was Protoss. Kind of we were talking about this game prior to the actual recording of this, but yeah, it was a really weird playstyle out of Kauai where he had a lot of queens, tried to do a weird little queen roach push, which was very well delayed. But I mean, overall, you could just see that Kauai Rice still hasn't got the comfort level with Zerg as he has with Terran. For some of you guys that don't know, of course, he's been kind of working about 50-50, at least from what he last told us with both of the races. What I liked was just the overall and general composition of the Protoss. He's got a good timely third. Power just played solid. He got a heavy stalker. Colossus never even really had to get to the storm portion. Was able to deny the fourth, back up, get a bigger army, go to the other side, kill that fourth, and then eventually, just in general, he had a more than enough supply to overpower Kauai. I mean, he just didn't have enough when it came to it. With I think it was the full composition was like Zealot, Stalker, Colossus, Void Ray, with a few sentries, no like Templar tech or anything like that. So, I just like the overall solid play out of Power. Very patient, very smooth.
yeah, no, I totally agree. And it's interesting. This, I mean, yeah, he did have, or Kawhi did have, this very weird, like 6 to 10 queens that just like went in with his push. They got slaughtered. I mean, of course, queens once you get on them off creep, they're not going anywhere. And
Yeah, well, I mean, typically a lot of the ZVP metagame right now stands with Zergs trying to do 4 base or 3 base timing pushes with a lot of Ling Hydra, or maybe even a little bit of Hydra with a lot of, I mean, a lot of Hydra with a little bit of Roach, something like that, just to kind of counter some of the air play. And I think that's kind of what Kawhi was thinking, that because he saw some of the air play early, he would just go with a lot of queens, go there with a lot of energy, would be able to transfuse and be able to maybe push through, but just wasn't the case. Didn't have enough.
Yeah, I just think it's a case of Kawhi underestimating how much power it could possibly have at that moment, and just underestimating the timings, like you said, DP. Just not fully comfortable with the race overall. I mean, Power is a random player, but I mean, he's Grandmasters with random, so he's obviously comfortable in all the matchups, a lot of timings, a very well-versed player. So Kawhi it was just a miscalculation, I think, and it cost him the game.
Yep, which I mean, Power took advantage of, and I mean, Power did what he needed to do to win. I mean, it wasn't some kind of gimmicky win or anything like that.
Right.
He played very kind of almost near by the book, did harassment, was able to deny the fourth eventually, and then just build up the necessary armor to beat him. It could have been a lot riskier if, in fact, Kawhi just decided to play more of a macro-oriented game, get that fourth hatch up, get a lot of Hydras out, get that whole entire Roach Hydra composition with Vipers, but I think he just got a little over aggressive. So I mean, we'll probably see over the next couple of months. He'll probably develop his gameplay more with Zerg, and we'll probably see more of a developed Zerg style play.
Yeah, and I think the best thing for Kawhi would be just to settle on whatever race he actually wants to play, I guess is what I want to say, instead of this kind of flip-flopping between the two. I mean,
well,
I understand that, people like to play multiple races, but especially for somebody who can compete in something like the WCS, Kawhi is definitely of that caliber type of player. I think it's better if sooner rather than later if he finds the race that he wants to play.
Well, I keep feeling. Well, my feel is that Kawhi, he's trying to focus more on Zerg and trying to play more Zerg, but the only reason he's playing any Terran is when he doesn't feel comfortable enough against an opponent. I don't know how much experience he has playing against Power, but like when he played, what was it, last week against Masan, he's like, there's no way I'm going to beat him in a ZVZ, so I'm going to try to take a TVZ. Again, he lost, but still, I mean, that was kind of his mentality, like his process of what race he's going to decide to play. But I feel like we're going to probably see a lot more Zerg out of Kawhi.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree. I mean, if he wants to switch, if the time is to switch, like DP said, he's only playing T when he kind of has to, or he feels like he's not comfortable enough to play Z for any sort of competition. But I mean, Heart of the Swarm, it still is a fresh game. It's brand new. The time to switch is now. So, I mean, honestly, I'm playing a lot more Terran than I am Protoss right now because it's just, I don't know, it's fun.
Dirty traitor.
So much fun, biomines and all that.
Yeah, Widow Mines and Speedvacs have made Terran, for me, infinitely more fun to watch and play, so I'm just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
My life for ire. All right. So as for my game, I actually chose this is round of 8. This was Washington versus Chicago. It was Salgood versus Glad. So it's ZVZ. And the reason why I chose this was because it had your typical Muta versus Muta little fights. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I think Muta versus Muta is one of the most fun things to watch, but also one of the most boring things to watch, because you can have this intricate dance between Mutaflocks, and one pokes at the other and the other pokes at the other, and that happened throughout this game, where you had that go on for a long time. However, the problem with Muta vs. Muta is that eventually you just get to this point where one person stops and then they fight each other, and then one Phlox just beats the other because they had one more, or they had one more upgrade or something like that. So it's really interesting to me that you can have games like this where you can get this really intricate dance going on between two Phlox and who's gonna do better, and then as we can as I can see here at least, Salga just stays there with his mutas as they're getting killed off, and I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know if he's thinking, okay, this was the time to fight. I don't know, once you're losing like 3 of them, why don't you run away? Why you stay there? I don't know what goes on in Zerg players' heads when that kind of stuff happens.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of Zerg players in ZVZ right now are, first of all, trying to dodge the whole Ling Bane stage. As long as they could hold off that, you don't really see too much Roach Hydra play out of Zergs. You're not really too worried about Infestors, so the usual typical play we do see go into Ling versus Muta, or Muta Ling versus Muta Ling. With Zerg players, they typically try to just get a good Muta count, they're trying to harass always that incoming third that's trying to get built, so they're trying to do Ling run-bys if they can pick off a queen or two or get some kind of drone damage as well. We've seen over the past weeks a lot of Zergs realize that it's actually a really good thing if we just kind of secretly fly into an opponent's base and actually focus down a gas really quick and get out of there prior to getting caught, just to let yourself get the gas advantage versus your opponent. So it's ZVZ is just really stale at the moment, I feel like. It's really stale. I want to see some kind of balance change or somebody break the mold, because no matter what we see right now, it typically ends up being Ling, Bane versus Muta. That's the usual 3 units we see.
Yeah, it's definitely the usual, but I think players like Life and Lenok showing the GSL. I wasn't able to catch the games extensively, but I sort of caught some of them at a glance. And they didn't do Ling Muta. I mean, you know what I mean?
They did though. Well, at least in the first couple of games they did. Lenok had a very very aggressive Ling Bane style that completely crushed Life.
I think it was in the second series that they played twice, and I think they had to switch up strategy. So I mean, you could definitely argue like they had to sort of switch things up because they had already kind of explored the Muta Ling against each other. They wanted to try and surprise each other. You could definitely argue that, and you can't argue that Muta Ling is dominant right now, but. At the same time, I don't think that a balance change is 100% necessary just yet, because Mutalists don't seem overpowered in the other 2 matchups, because Widowmines are just so strong right now, and Protoss overall, Phoenix's Mothership Core is kind of helping as well. So to nerf Mutalists would definitely not be the right route, I feel like.
Oh no doubt about it. Mutas are fine.
They are exploring. Blizzard was talking about exploring very small options, like Hydra's doing additional damage to spore crawlers, I believe. Very subtle touches where it would only affect ZVZ. So I think those are some of the things they were starting to look at.
Yeah, and you know it'll ZVZ. In the End of the Moon's Liberty, especially, I think got very, very, very boring to watch. I mean, you know, it's just like, okay, well, all right, here we go again with the Ling Infester and into Broodlord, hooray! And I think the ZVZ now is a little bit more active. It's a little bit, you know, it's a lot less passive. Sit back, get your bases. It's a lot more active. Get those Lings out, you know, get the Mutas out, run around the map, do things all the time. So it's a lot more interesting to watch. But at the end, as you saw, what you have is just 2 flocks of Mutas just doing this, and one of them dies and the other lives, and well, GG. So that's why I chose that game, because I think it exemplifies a lot of ZVZ fun things and yet unfun things at the same time. All right, well, I think that'll end it for our videos. Now, usually this is where we would jump into an interview with some coordinator or some player. However, we weren't able to secure anybody because I don't know why. People just don't respond. Come on, you guys. This is your chance to talk to everybody.
Well, I don't know. I mean, partially it might be me. Like I've had like several email issues, but I have sent them a few of them that seem to have gone through. But it's whatever, you know. It's fine. People get busy.
No
nerd. I mean, we are the Collegiate Star League. We're not the professional Star League, so. People do get busy, have classes, projects, and it's getting closer and closer to finals time, so we'll give you guys the excuse.
But I'm not giving you such an easy pass.
We want you to the next one. I'm looking at you, who's going to be winning the next tournament. We want you in here. Actually, it'll be kind of over that way next to DP's face all the way at the end of the screen. But you get the general point. We want you on this show.
Indeed.
So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into what we usually do at the very end, and because of this game is going to be a little bit shorter than the others, but we're going to take a look at the teams that are coming up in this next qualifier. Now, this is not the full list. This does not have brackets, but it is a precursor list to those teams that have signed up already.
Wait, are you showing just the raw Google Doc right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I was like, it doesn't have brackets. It's mostly just a Google Doc with just the team names.
Yep, that's
pretty basic.
Is.
I was hoping I could edit because I was going to type like qualifier number 4. Like, this is it, man.
Yeah. And
after
and
this,
see,
nobody else is qualifying. This is the last one we have to look at. And right now, looking at these teams, man, it's despite always calling University of Washington a favorite to get through, there's still a lot of these great teams that have been knocked out that are back in once again, and it's anybody's game. I feel like,
and it's your last chance. Like this is you're
it's
not
the final countdown.
if you're done, if you don't get through this season, you're waiting like what 4 months until next season starts in whatever month it's going to be in, September, October. So get in here. I mean, of course, by the time this airs,
Get in, man. Guys,
it'll
come
be close
join
already,
us.
but
Just pop on in.
But that's okay. The point is, if you're not in when you're watching this, you've. Anywho, let's go over some of these teams. As we've said, University of Washington is back in here again.
Are they?
Yeah,
Or are
Yep.
they? Oh, there they are. Okay,
University of
yeah.
Washington.
I actually see you highlighting over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
But you've also got North Texas coming in again. You got Twin Cities, who's being strong. You've got Utah, who's been strong. You've still
Yep.
got, I believe, Carleton is in here once more.
Yes.
NYU is in here once more. Our dark horse favorites, Purdue and Rutgers, who we've been cursing, are in here once more.
Harvard, man, go for it. Trogdor. It's a badass surfer.
And watch out, because San Jose State University is actually back in here once more. They were a round of 8 team in the first qualifier. They didn't play in the second or third. I don't know why. But they're a team that made it really far last season and really far in the first qualifier, so you can't forget about them. So you've got a lot of teams in here who are going to be scrapping and scraping and fighting as hard as they possibly can for those last 2 spots.
Yeah.
Looking at the schools that have signed up again, there's about 30 schools. We'll probably get up to at least 32 by the time the actual bracket goes out. The 7 schools that I have named down: North Texas, Minnesota Twin Cities, Texas Austin, Kearney and Mellon, Chicago, Carleton, and Washington. But North Texas hasn't been performing well, really. They got knocked out really fairly early in the second qualifier. They got knocked out in the first round of this third one, so I actually don't see them going that far. I'm only noting them at this point just because of talent alone. Twin Cities, who's been kind of sort of consistent, but they've had a really hard time breaking into a round of 8, so probably not. Texas Austin, really a random team that just seems to show up and perform well. Doesn't have exactly the most amount of talent, but they're a good school. The 2 that I see probably going through all the way here are Chicago and Washington, I would say. I want to say Carleton, but, they just seem to not be able to bust through either themselves. So I'm probably going to go with Chicago and Washington for this qualifier.
I mean, we also have to consider some teams that may not have signed up so far, like a Texas A&M or like a Ohio State, who both made it very far as well. So, they can also definitely throw a wrench into some of these other teams' plans. I think as of right now, people have 1 more day to sign up. So we'll see if they get in here. I hope they get in here because they're good teams and provide good matches. Any thoughts, Chris?
I mean, I think that, I'm unsure of where Carleton is as a team right now. I just know that they were strong in the past, and I've seen them play very well. So I'm not sure how active they are right now. I did predict them for, I forget which qualifier that they were in, but
I think the second one.
I
think it was the second one, yeah. And I still have faith in them. I know that they're a strong team with strong players. I just don't know if maybe their lineup isn't as robust as it used to be, but it is hard to predict them to go all the way through. University of Washington, looking at the teams here, you just have to pick them. It's still just on what you have to pick them because
you feel stupid if you don't. I mean, they got Kawhi, they got Caliber, they have Huangpo, they have a lot of talent.
Team. Yeah, they're still a super strong team.
Salgood is still very good, yeah.
Yeah, and it's very hard not to pick them. Underdogs, I'm always going to root for East Coast teams. So Harvard, I know they have some strong players. Am I saying they're going to make it to the round of 2? Not necessarily, but they could knock out some of these other teams that were considering to make it all the way through. They could knock out, I feel like, a University of Chicago, potentially, but
they're the bracket busting teams that might not make it all the way, but they can definitely beat somebody.
So I mean, University of Washington, even Twin Cities could go far, and then SJSU is solid as well. So I'm going to say University of Washington, and Oh man, it's impossible to pick the second one. There's honestly just so many teams I feel like competing for that second place spot. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
and I mean, I think in this case, it really is hard to predict the second one because it's an incomplete list. Because I know
Yeah,
that somebody like Texas A&M will probably get on here, so it is really tough to pick that one. I mean, I agree. It's hard to root against Washington or not pick Washington, I should say, just solely based on how well they've done and the fact that they pretty much have the same players. But come on, guys, play your 2v2s. Please stop
yeah.
losing those in a 1v2. That's not. First of all, it's not a fun game to watch. Second of all, it throws away a game, and you never know what happens if you throw away a game like that.
Yeah, we have to give them props. They did play in one of the 2v2s, I think, right? The full team played.
Yep. In the round of 4 where they lost. So,
Hey, at least they did it, man. At
yeah,
least
no,
they did it.
absolutely, and I mentioned that before. But the point is that you can't. It's very hard to give the other team a free win and be certain that you can still win. I mean, Washington definitely has that caliber type of player in caliber, but but I've been waiting to make that joke all night. Okay,
Had it written down. It was just the one note he had in front of him for the whole show. It's like,
make
okay,
a
just wait for the
caliber
right moment.
joke. I got this. I can throw this in there at some point. All right. So yeah. Hopefully we'll see some good games this weekend. Definitely good
Yeah.
luck to all the participants, and
Woo! Last qualifier, get it done.
yeah, you've got.
You know what? I'm gonna officially predict University of Minnesota Twin Cities. That's second. That's it.
Really nice.
I can't argue with it. I'm
Just gonna say it
I'm
because
trying to think. What's that dodgeball? What's that dodgeball quote? He's gonna go with the UMNCP strategy or Twin City strategy. Let's see if it pays off, Cotton, or whatever it is. Oh,
That's
nobody
what I'm
watched
going with.
dodgeball.
no,
I
I've seen,
do,
no, I've
but
seen
I'm
the
not
movie.
sure
I
what
was
you're
I was
referring
trying
to.
I was trying. I didn't know what scene you were referencing, so I was just waiting until it
Well,
connected.
like the casters.
Mhm.
What was it?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
okay,
See if,
okay.
see if
Jason
it pays
Bateman.
off.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're making a dodgeball too, by the way.
Are they
Found
really?
that out.
It's great
They're-
news.
They're finally getting it started. Anywho, yeah, I think that's pretty much gonna do it for us tonight. You guys got anything special going on this weekend?
Probably going to be watching DreamHack, and DreamHack, one of the most prestigious tournament that got ripped out of the WCS. I am very still bitter about that, but I will be very happy to support them over the weekend. And huge tournament, so it should be fun. Also, going to be rooting on for the Lakers. Hopefully, we make it out of the first round of the playoffs. Probably
Go-
not, but
Go Warriors. That's all I've got to say.
yep, that's
You know,
me.
DP, don't be too bitter about DreamHack because it's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be
Like,
freaking awesome.
As a viewer, I would be bummed maybe if I was a player. But as a viewer, man, it's gonna be the best production I think we've seen yet. One of the best tournaments, one of the best DreamHacks we've seen yet. I feel
Every
like.
single year they do it, man. It's
Yeah,
absolutely
and so
incredible.
honestly, I'm equally excited, and I can't wait. So yeah, I'm gonna be watching that, and
Yeah, I'll probably have DreamHack up on one screen and then have the CSL brackets for this qualifier up on the other one, just so I can keep an eye on that as well. Because I'm looking forward to seeing
how it all
who does
pans.
what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much gonna do it for us tonight. Any quick shout outs, guys?
Shout out to Monster TT. And I'm just kidding. No, I'm not sponsored by all those, but shout outs to CSL. We're going strong. We're 3 qualifiers in, getting into our 4th one, guys. Be sure to check out our playoffs as they're going to be getting started in May, which are going to be really awesome because you're going to see some of those teams that you haven't seen for a few weeks that qualified right away. We're going to have really, really good games. And of course, you guys can follow me on Twitter at CheeseheadLogic, as well as follow me on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/CheeseheadLogic as well. I'm doing a lot of streams right now, especially at nighttime, going into the AM hours with a lot of commentary, bilingual commentary. So always the support is appreciated, but that's all for me.
And Chris?
Yeah, thank you to all you guys that are watching. And I feel like after all these grueling qualifiers, thanks to all the teams, man. I mean, these guys are really practicing hard, and you can kind of see the teams that are really putting in the effort and getting through these qualifiers, getting far. I mean, just the fact that University of Washington is continually knocked out is a testament to how hard these teams are working. So shout out to them. And you can follow me on my Twitter, SneakoSC. And yeah, man, I'm really excited to see the fourth qualifier.
I am as well, and of course, thank you to our sponsors, MSI, NCIX, and RaidCall. As I previously said, you can enter to win a laptop from MSI. You can kind of see it down over there, and go to our website to find out more details. See starlee.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Imagine42, which is right here down on my name. And you'll probably find me hanging around in stream chat, making sure that none of them trolls get through. All right, I think that's pretty much going to do it for us tonight. So you guys have a wonderful night, and we hope to see you next week on Tuesday, Wednesday for a round of 8s. You guys have a great night.
The little guns thing. See ya.